And we're here. We're live. That was it. Very dramatic.
Love it.
All right. All right. So this is the Full Send Weightlifting Podcast. This is episode 2. Why don't you introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are?
You want us to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Danielle Gunnin, member of Team USA,
I'm Gunnin. I'm Danielle's coach.
and we are the owners of Atlas Weightlifting.
Nice.
Amazing. Those were such exciting introductions. I feel like I know everything about you.
Well, we rehearsed that for about an hour today, so
I just want to be embarrassed.
There you go. So, Danielle, you've been around at the top of the USA weightlifting for a long time. I think the first time I remember seeing your name was 2018-ish. Is that right?
My first national championship, win and senior level medals, was 2019.
Yeah. So you've been around and you've been on the bubble of making a senior international team for a long time. What has that been like?
The weight has been hard because it's like you're one lift away. One perfect day away is what it felt like. Being a 64 in my old weight class, it was very, very competitive, and the old algorithm made it even harder to qualify. So I could have been ranked number 164 in the nation, and it didn't matter based on how qualifying procedures were done for the last quad. Now they're different. And they work more to our favor because it should just be the strongest, and that's easier than putting it into a whole algorithm and figuring it out like it used to be. But yeah, it's hard, but I don't know, I love what we do, and so making senior teams has always been a goal. And I made University World, so I had a taste of the international stage back in 2017. And then after winning nationals in 2019, I went to the Grand Prix on a senior team. And to me, I was like, these are teams. They're senior teams, collegiate teams, they're teams. They count. But to me, I didn't make a team until I made Pan Ams or Worlds. That was what I wanted. Those were not satisfying. Those were my practice rounds, if you will. Now the Grand Prix, obviously, this time means a little bit more. It's an Olympic qualifier. It's more important. But to me, you hadn't made it until you've done Pan Ams or Worlds. And to miss that, by one lift for years sucks. And then for me, we finally sat down and I looked at it and I said, something has to give. I'm trying to manage our gym. I'm trying to work full time as an athletic trainer, which is a super demanding job. My passion, I love it. It's demanding. And then I'm trying to be an elite level lifter. And there's one thing I can thank COVID for so much is when things slowed down, it gave me a chance to train more. And that was when I started hitting 100 kilo snatches, and my lifts started progressing because we were able to play with my training more because I had less physical demands. Because athletic training is not just rehabbing people or filling water bottles. It is a very physically demanding, time-consuming job, and that extra exertion seemed to be what was causing. It was pulling from my training, and so I couldn't give as much as I can now. So we sat down after missing, this was at the end of 2020. So it had been 2 years. I'd been one lift away from the perfect day, So after 2 years of that, and I was 28, 29. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I can always be an athletic trainer. I can always be a gym owner. I can always do these things, but I can't always be a competitive, high-level weightlifter. And so we looked at our finances, and I said, he's the risk taker. I'm not. I need plan A, B, and C and stability. And he goes, you just need to quit. And I was like, well, hold on. Let me make sure we can afford to live.
You make me sound like a bad influence. Quit your job.
That's amazing. We all need that person in our corner. That's amazing.
I didn't force you into anything.
Forced me into weightlifting. I really did.
Yeah, but it was totally worth it, right? You're on Team USA now.
It worked out all right. Yeah, it's working out.
But yeah, so he forced me to quit my job. I'm just kidding. No, I sat down, I looked at the finances to make sure we would break even, because obviously we have a business to keep afloat as well as ourselves. So quit the job after realizing we would stay afloat, and then I was able to help grow our business a little bit more, so that gave us more cushion back, and that was when I was able to focus more on training. So I started doing, like, we were able to figure out what training style best suited my body. And that was when things started. I started hitting more of those upper numbers more consistently. So that was kind of the game changers, picking my priorities and not saying yes to everything that I wanted to, and knowing that like certain things will be there at other times. There's just seasons for things. And right now is our yes season for weightlifting.
That's awesome. I'd really love to hear more about what you mean by picking the type of training that worked best for your body. So what does that mean? And then how did you both kind of work that out together?
It's been ever evolving for the last like 2 years, especially because my body likes to throw random stuff at us.
Yeah. So with Danielle, in a lot of my lifters, just to kind of generalize, I normally do just 4 days a week with her, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That way it kind of spaces things out. She gets enough recovery in there on the days that she's not lifting. And then, we can kind of cycle through and kind of push her numbers a little bit harder as we need to. And if we need to work around things, then we can work around things as well.
We did a phase where we like split. Like I did a squat session. The first thing I did because my squats have always been what's not been as developed. I didn't touch a barbell until I was 21. So I didn't have the strength background or like a collegiate athlete, like nothing. So I've always been in a deficit in squat strength. I'm just efficient with lifting. So that was the first thing he wanted to address. And what you noticed, like it's been like throughout all my training cycles, my squats, I could clean it that day, and then I may or may not be able to front squat at the end of that session, and that's a problem, right? So he took my training and he moved my squats to the beginning of the day and separated it from my technical session at night, and that was in the very beginning. Now things look a little bit different. It just kind of changes with life and our schedule. Yeah. But that was how we were able to develop more of my strength that I was missing. And that was very helpful. Like I didn't PR my squats for like 2 years, and then like they started going up again. So separating those things out to find how my body is going to hit those big numbers without breaking, and then how are we going to develop my strength? Because that is where I'm efficient, but efficiency only goes so far. Yeah.
I thought you had scoliosis to some degree.
I do.
That too, yeah.
That is what throws us for loopholes. So it flared up as my squats were getting stronger. So I do my accessory work because my background is obviously athletic training, rehab, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So he does my weightlifting and I do injury prevention and all that stuff. And I was overcompensating and strengthening almost too much. And then that combined with my heavier squats that I was developing, my hip flexors got very, very, very tight. And that is where my scoliosis kind of sits. It's more in my lumbar spine. And so you could actually see my hips shifting. If I videoed from the back, I looked so crooked. And so I found a bodywork specialist who was able to, I was going into spasms. I was having back spasms, but it was from my hip flexors. And it was figuring that part out. That was something like, I know enough myself, but I can't always assess myself. I can tell you how I feel, but I need a professional just like anyone else does. And he was like, every time it seemed the front squats were sending us into triggers. There were certain things that we knew were triggers. Pulling from the ground has always been fine. So it was weird because you think pulling is back. It hurts your back. Mm. So we found what my triggers were and why. And we've been able to counter that. So we've altered my squats to where I was doing like, he comes up with different squat variations to fix things. So I'll be doing like box squats or like
bottom up front squats or
pause squats. He likes tempos for me. So I'm not always pushing those high end numbers. And I fixed my rehab and wasn't over rehabbing things, creating more problem or different problems. So that's kind of how we counter it. I know which way it curves, and I make sure to strengthen going the opposite way and lengthen on the way, like the side it likes to get tight on. And I leave my hip flexors alone because I got them too strong, and that caused the spasms that happened about a year ago, and I almost couldn't compete at nationals.
Wow.
Oh,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say one of her spasms from her scoliosis that kind of put us back a little bit is one of the reasons what pushed us and let us know that we could change, weight classes with her.
Oh, yeah,
and
that I could cut down.
Go from a 64 to a 59.
It helped us.
The last nationals or AO is a 64.
2022 nationals.
Yeah, 2022 nationals.
I was not squatting for like
the 8 weeks before that, she had not squatted at all. So we literally had to come back, crawling back to snatching and clean and jerking from the floor.
I had to get a ranking.
Yeah.
So I needed to compete.
So she didn't squat. We did single leg variations, anything that agreed with her back, we did that. And then we just kind of tiptoed our way back into snatching from like 65 kilos barely to, what would you hit, 100?
I pressed out 103 in competition, so I took American record attempt coming off that training cycle. And I was not salty at all. And then I hit a 118, my competition best clean and jerk by 1 kilo PR.
Yeah.
So even without squatting, I'm efficient. But he also knows how, different things. So I was doing sled pushes and some box, different things to stimulate that kept my back happy, but I was still getting stronger, just in a different way.
Yeah. And normally on big weight cuts, or just weight cuts in general, your legs is one of the first things that kind of goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you kind of lose that horsepower a little bit with those legs. So you got to know how your body feels after a cut. And we figured if you didn't squat for 8 weeks and you still hit these numbers, then you could probably.
And I was only 8 pounds off.
Yeah, cut the 4.5 kilos or whatever it was, and then be fine.
Just go down.
And it proved to be true.
That's so cool. I mean, I feel like you guys are breaking through a lot of misconceptions when it comes to sports performance for weightlifting. Namely, one, being able to train at a high level with scoliosis. That's in general. My husband has scoliosis and his doctor tells him all the time, you don't need to lift weights. And I'm like, no, lift weights. It's so much better for you to lift weights.
I swear that's why I wasn't symptomatic. I didn't get diagnosed until I was 25. And I was
that's crazy.
Yeah, and I didn't get diagnosed until my weightlifting coach saw my squat, and he's like, you look crooked. And I was like, well, I'll go to my friend's a chiropractor. I do feel like my hip is in my ribs. And I went, and she was like, because it is. And I was like, well, no one told me. I had no idea. I can't really see. I can't do that test on me. And I'd been self-treating unknowingly kind of for years. And I think, I had back pain as a teenager and as a gymnast, and you just assume it's normal, right? So when I started weightlifting, I actually had way less pain. And so my back pain went away and for almost 4 years until I was about 25. And I was like, oh, I think weightlifting genuinely helped my scoliosis not be symptomatic.
Yeah.
I think weightlifting is the cure for everything. So absolutely.
I
go ahead. Sorry.
I had a very famous weightlifting coach once tell me that you do your best lifting when your back is sore. So.
Well, there you go. Makes you use your legs more.
He was really old school. So.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I just think about all of the kids who are going through grade school who get told, hey, you have scoliosis, so you can't do sports now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And meanwhile, they're, yourself, Sylvia Hoffman, who used to train for Team USA, but is now a bronze medalist bobsledder, also has really bad scoliosis.
She just took out back squats. That was her thing. Her trigger was back squats.
Right. So she's not back squatting. Which also breaks through another misconception in weightlifting, which is if you don't squat every day, or if you're not squatting consistently, you're not going to get stronger.
Yeah.
That's old school coaching too.
Yeah. The other one that comes to mind is Karakos, Lindsay Karakos, which she made nationals a couple of times, and she was one of Walt's lifters out of Wilmington, North Carolina, and she I remember when she got into weightlifting and she had a bad scoliosis beforehand, and she they didn't back squat at all. They did a bunch of step ups, they had single leg presses and stuff like that, and just kept getting her legs stronger. So yeah.
Strength is strength at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You'll be amazed.
People make it way too complicated.
Yeah, you'll be amazed at how far 400 meters of walking lunges will carry you.
Oh yeah.
And then he makes you do them weighted.
No, I made my weight lift. So the gym we're at, we got 400 meter track, but it's not a real track. It goes a little bit uphill. And I made my weightlifters do that once, and they would not talk to me for a week after that. They were like, "That is." So.
Suffering. Well, speaking of strength, Cord, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey in weightlifting. You were a former athlete, not former, right? You still compete, but your best total, I think, is 312. kilos in
Uh,
competition?
I think it was 310 at nationals in 2020.
It was when I was
2021.
It was when I bombed 2021
Yeah, 21.
because he got done lifting and had to run over to coach me.
Yeah,
Right
I
after.
was literally in my singlet changing out of that, like at her warm up platform, because I had just lifted over there. Yeah, I think I went.
But you told he did great. That was your best total ever.
Yeah, that was my best finish. I finished 10th that year, so that was cool.
That's
That is
awesome.
really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how did you get started and how did you guys end up meeting and then now you're coaching Danielle, unless you were coaching her from the beginning. So I'd love to hear that story.
So we started dating in high school.
Oh, so
Yeah,
cute.
no, so cute, right? Yeah, and people are going to be like, "Oh, that's why they're matching right now." I get it.
When you work at the same place, you got the same style. It just happens.
Yeah. No, so we were dating a long time before I started doing CrossFit or anything like that. We were in, she was in college. I was playing competitive golf, actually. So she was in South Georgia. And so, anyways, I ended up getting into CrossFit. I wanted to eventually start coaching it. I went and took my USA Weightlifting Level 1 course. And then after I did that, the people that put on that course,
it was CJ
it was CJ Stockwell and Stan Luttrell and the guys at Team Georgia. And they said, if anybody in here is interested in competing or being part of a weightlifting club, we have a club. Come talk to us afterwards. So I went up and talked to them, and they said, cool, we'll see you next Saturday at practice. Be here at this time. So Danielle was at home.
I just happened to be in town.
Yeah, she just happened to be in town, and I went up with a couple of buddies and her, and then when she walked in, she had been doing CrossFit for just a little bit at that time, so she knew how to snatch and clean and jerk kind of roughly.
Taught me.
Yeah, I taught her
Me everything.
Yeah, as soon as I took my level 1 course, I'm just like, I'm coaching you right now. I'm teaching you all this stuff.
He signed me up for an RX CrossFit competition. I'd done it for a month and a half, y'all. And I was competing against.
That's the best way to.
Wait.
Do it.
Athletes
are you guys seeing a pattern? I'm pushing her into doing all these really fun and cool things.
How old were y'all when you did that?
20. It was 21.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good old youthful confidence.
Yeah. So
this is that spring now.
Yeah. So she was pretty much voluntold into doing a weightlifting meet. So that next time that I was going to do
I was lifting with Hope Stockwell, CJ's daughter, and we were lifting about the same. Like she was coming off an injury.
Yeah.
So she wasn't at max capacity, but I was like clueless. Like I don't know what kilos are, just lifting what she was lifting, and they're like, "You're okay. You should probably do this meet." And I was like, "No, I'm just gonna go watch him. I don't want to."
Yeah.
I did the meet.
Yeah, so she did it, and then once she got into it, she was like, "I think I'm just going to do this now." So she started just training in weightlifting.
Cardio wasn't for me in CrossFit.
Yeah,
it just really wasn't.
I stuck with CrossFit and did weightlifting, kind of both at the same time, and tried to balance those. And then it got to a point where I was better at weightlifting than I was the CrossFit side. So I was talking to my coach at the time, and he's like, "Look, what makes you happier?" And I was like, "Well, now Danielle and I are traveling all over the place, and we're doing weightlifting meets, and we're getting to do fun things." He's like, "Okay, so do that. If you're spending time with her and it's something that's positive for your relationship, do that."
And
so
we were
it was
at national level. Like our third meet ever, we qualified for nationals. So like we were already higher. Like my first competition, I qualified for finals. Like we were naturally high levels coming into it, and so we were traveling for national competition, not just for fun.
Yeah,
we were traveling to compete.
Yeah. So, I got into it through CrossFit, took the level 1 course. We were
coached by Team Georgia. That's what we started with. And then we started kind of like, so there's nothing where we're at. We're in the middle of nowhere. So
that's what everyone always says about Georgia. It's like Atlanta and then nowhere.
Yeah.
We are like 45 minutes. Like we're between Atlanta and Athens, like UGA. And then there's like us off the interstate. Like you wouldn't even know we're here. But so there's no CrossFit gym, or there was no weightlifting teams for like 2 hours or an hour.
About an hour. Yeah.
So Team Georgia was the closest one. So we would drive every Saturday. We would drive like over an hour to go get coaching because that was all that was really available. And like when I went back down to South Georgia to finish school, because I came home once or twice during the summer or something like that. So I was able to train with the team then, but for the most part, that was it. Like he coached me, we trained together for CrossFit and for weightlifting. I moved out to Alabama in 2015 for grad school. I was in Auburn, Alabama, so I was walking around trying to find. I had my first nationals in that August, and I needed a place to train. So I wandered around, found East Alabama Weightlifting. So I ended up actually joining them. I trained there for like 2 months, and they were my first in-person coaches consistently. So I switched over to them for the 2 years I was there, and then I came back, and Cord was still on Team Georgia. So when I moved back home, I rejoined Team Georgia, and then they kind of phased out about 2 years after, 1 to 2 years after that. Everyone had just kind of grown apart, like on their separate ways. It wasn't quite the same. And we opened up like our own branch essentially here in Monroe and in Covington. We were kind of like having remote practices, like, hey, if y'all want to come out, we're doing it. It was just like a general open gym kind of thing. There was no formal team. And then he took over my coaching at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. And that was when he because I was coaching myself for about 6 to 9 months when I wanted to quit weightlifting in 2018. And then that's kind of how he came to coach me full time. But he's been there since the beginning. It was just becoming a coach and the coach I needed.
That's like a weightlifting love story right there. I love that.
Oh, we swore for the longest time. I was like, you're not coaching me. We'll get divorced because
You said we. I was like open to it. You were like, you're never going to coach me.
No.
I don't know.
I'm not the nicest competitor, okay? Like, I know what I want. Like, I'm very driven, and I didn't want any issues. But it actually works very well because he knows my goals. And I trust no one in life more than him. It makes sense. It just took time to realize that.
I hope that was in your vows.
Oh, no, but we did move our wedding for weightlifting, so there's that.
There you go.
I forgot about that, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So Team Georgia's Stockel, right? I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Why does Cord have an accent and you don't?
So I was raised. My mom is from Chicago, and she raised me.
Oh.
There you go.
There we go.
There's that. We're both from. I'm from 15 minutes from where we're at now, and was raised here. So we weren't raised very far apart. It's just his family is from Georgia.
Yeah. I also find that hilarious that you think I have an accent because I don't think I have an accent.
Parents are way worse. Like
I spent a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I spent a little bit of time in
Bedtime
Atlanta.
stories. Is that good?
So I just hear it a little bit because when I was in Atlanta, I started picking it up, and then I was only there for like 4 months, but it changed me from coming from California a little bit.
Yeah, Atlanta is much different from California, but as far as very light accents. I feel like people from Alabama have thicker accents, so.
So my fiance's from Gainesville, Florida, and we did a meet up in Mississippi one year in like 2017, and so we flew up to Mississippi, and there was a dude there. His name was it was like Hilliard or something, and he had the thickest drawl ever. And he and she was like, I cannot understand what you're saying. And he's like, oh, where are you from? And she's like, I'm from the South. I'm from Florida. Like, what are you talking about? But no, he just had a thick accent. Yours is not that bad. It's not that thick. Yeah.
So our New York friends will have him say Southern sayings. We have Griffin Barbell. We'll stay with them for certain national meets, and they'll be like, Cord, tell us Southern things.
Only if they tell you New York things.
Oh, well, yeah, they had to explain to me what a borough was. I didn't know what that was, but that's like, the Queens, Bronx, all that kind of stuff. That's what they call them. Like, instead of just towns or cities, like, it's a borough.
It's a borough.
It's like a neighborhood, I guess.
It makes you think of states, like a...
Yeah. That's what I thought, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, how that came about is I said a phrase, and Amy, she was like, what did you just say? And what does that mean? And I'm like, you've never heard that saying before? And I had to I had to go on a whole tangent about what it
Southern
means.
sayings.
What it means when if you're explaining something, you say, well, it's not that far, but as the crow flies, it's like 10 minutes down the road, whatever. Yeah. So then they're like, what does that mean? It's like, if you could just go straight there, that's what that means.
No, then I think we just got our episode title, Southern Things with the Gunnins.
There you go. Southern thing.
Oh, goodness. Oh,
That's too funny. So Danielle, tell us a little bit about your mantra. Like I know for a while you had like this like kind of like catchphrase or like thing that you were going for. So let's talk about that.
Corey's gonna talk about the origins. I'm gonna say, like most people, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me put little roaches or put hashtag be a roach or roach mentality. So that is my mantra, is to be a roach, and the story is gonna come from him because he's like the origin.
Yeah. Okay. So it came from me. So there was one time Danielle was having a slight mental breakdown.
There was 2 years of mental breakdowns.
Yeah. So
We've been
as we
there.
run into with the sport of weightlifting, you run into these hard battles and things you got to fight through, and as we're just talking about these things, it was another injury from her scoliosis. And she was saying, when is enough enough? And I said, look, we just have to be resilient and keep coming back. I was like, you have to just be as resilient as a cockroach. And she looked at me kind of funny, and she's like, what does that mean? I was like, a nuclear blast could go off, and the last thing that's going to be crawling around is a cockroach. So just be resilient. And she's like, oh, I kind of like that. So then she kind of I said, so be a roach. And then she's like, okay, I like that. So as she's like wiping tears, she's like, I think I want to hashtag that now. And I'm like, let's do it.
So now that's our thing. It's just
I love that.
It pulled me out of a dark place, because injury after injury, because it was like I would come back and something would happen. It's like I had nerve damage, I had my shoulder subluxed, nothing was overuse injuries or anything like that. It was all like, except for maybe the scoliosis, and again, I did that to myself. But I had just some bad cards. Nerve damage was not from training, that was from a massage accident.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like we could not, like we would get a little bit of traction, we couldn't keep, it was like, when is enough enough? Because I feel like I've given so much to this sport, and I'm like, it's not being reciprocated, and it kind of sucks. And he kept, like, that's his way of reminding me, like, you're not done yet. You have so much more to give, and you know that. And so anytime I feel that way, or just any, like, especially with being that close to qualifying for years, it's just keep showing up. Just, it's not about being nasty and gritty. It's about just showing up no matter what, over and over again. Because eventually you're going to get 1 more kilo. Eventually you're going to get what you want. You just have to keep showing up and fighting. So
Absolutely. I love that.
Go ahead, Susie.
I was just going to say, I know that I've heard that before, that if there was a nuclear blast that cockroaches would survive, and also Twinkies. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Twinkies might have been, I'm just saying, no, it's
I don't.
be a Twinkie
Being a
doesn't
Twinkie
have the
doesn't
same.
sound quite right. I don't know.
I think there may be a connotation there we're unaware of. So.
I think she was just watching Zombieland or something.
I was watching Zombieland.
Yeah.
I thought about that too.
Yes.
That's
Go ahead, Blair.
Oh,
That was
fun
filmed
fact.
at my college.
Zombieland was filmed just down the road from where she went to college.
Okay.
Georgia.
Oh,
Yep.
that's awesome. Could have been a movie star.
Yeah, more southern things from the Gunnins.
So, Danielle, you said you've been injured obviously a lot in weightlifting, on and off. And I kind of remember it from your Instagram. I think I started following you in 18.
Mm-hmm.
Were you injured a lot in gymnastics? I can't remember if you're a tumbler or a gymnast or...
Both. That was your typical gymnast who quit and then went to cheerleading.
That's what I thought, but I couldn't remember what level you went to.
Yeah. So I was like a training level 8 gymnast, and
pretty high.
This isn't out there on the internet, but I was doing, it's called a giant. So I was swinging on the bar, and then you release, and I was doing a little flippy flip off. I over rotated because I've always been very powerful, and I landed on my back, halfway on and halfway off an 8-inch mat. And after that, I had back problems. And then I had like another fall, and I broke a toe or an ankle. Like there was like 2 or 3 things that kept happening, and I was like, or months of things happening. So I decided to quit that sport and started doing cheerleading. So I guess injuries are just my thing. Those were the only injuries that kind of came over with me. The injuries from like weightlifting specific came from, I was doing my own programming, and when we program for ourselves, we don't listen as well. So I maxed out bench press one day, and then I decided to max snatch the next day. Not smart.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's a shoulder
you
right
live and
there.
you learn. So this is when I was working full time, and I was like, okay, well, I need to get a heavy lift in this day, and these are the only days I can do it. So I'm just gonna make this work, right? Not smart. I did it, and I developed bursitis in my shoulder, again from my own program. He was not coaching me. This was me. I developed bursitis, and I kept lifting on it for leading up to nationals in 2019. When I won, I actually had a torn rotator cuff. So I was only snatching like once a week. My rotator cuff looked like Swiss cheese, and I didn't want to address it until after nationals because we were already like 2 months out by the time I got diagnosed with anything. So I trained through, and we, as we have done, altered my programming. And that is why he started coaching me. So he started coaching me. He got me to nationals. I took 2 months off after that, got a cortisone shot. I have not had any issues with that shoulder ever since. My rotator cuff is completely fine. I rehabbed it back, all good. I get knots in my shoulders after competitions, typically from stress and just from lifting and travel. So I went and got a massage. This person used a massage gun on my neck. I asked them not to, and they continued. And they ended up causing partial nerve paralysis in my C-spine. This was 6 weeks out from nationals in 2021. And I couldn't like push myself up off the bed. I couldn't snatch even like 65 kilos, and I'd been hitting 100 plus. So that was that injury. So like when I say it's not overuse, like there was one overuse injury. That was a freak accident that like we couldn't really do anything about that. And so that shoulder injury happened. We were able to train through, and I competed at that nationals. I bombed on clean and jerk, and then not because of my arms. There's that. I snatched 101, hadn't even pulled on 100. So that's where the cockroach comes in. It's the resiliency. And then we trained through. I got the muscle to come back, and everything was normal. And then that muscle did not fire at AO finals on my first American record attempt. And my shoulder came out backwards and then went back in while on the platform. People didn't really know what happened. We kind of just played it off because I needed a ranking. I'd bombed at nationals, and I had to have a ranking. So I came off, and I looked at him, and I was like, I just subluxed my shoulder. That my lat was what was damaged. It didn't fire when I caught. So I caught this snatch, and my shoulder went back because this was delayed. So when it squeezed, it actually pulled itself back in while I had an American record overhead. I set it down, I waved, I come off, I tell him I'm an athletic trainer, so I asked him to do certain tests that I would do. I determined I had enough strength to continue. I was scared. I didn't tell anyone then what was going on. We went in the back. We addressed it between the two of us. He continuously reminded me of my strength reserve, and that, you can jerk 300 pounds, and we're not going nearly that heavy today. Like, you're going to be okay. And so we opened up lighter. I moved my grip in more narrow because I knew it was unstable. And then I was able to post a PR total, and I took a PR attempt on clean and jerk as well. But all that to say, I did the same test I would have done on like my football players, and I passed all of those strength tests. So that was the only reason why I continued. I don't encourage anyone to do that. That was a decision from a medical professional in that moment. So that was the main injuries. After that happened, obviously we were done for a while. It took about 3 months, and then I didn't come back until I had the Arnold, where I was invited to the road stage, and that was my comeback meet. I turned down the road stage so I could have a head-to-head meet with Maddie Sasser, because I had not had a head-to-head with anyone in the 64s, and she was the number one. I wanted to compete, and I knew I needed that extra fire under my butt coming off an injury, something to fight for. So I declined the rogue spot. I came back from another injury, I had my back spasm like 3 months after that. So I had to come back. And then I fell again and come back. But every time I improved my total by 1 kilo at least. Every time.
Hey, that's a win.
That's the story of the injuries.
Yeah, I'm looking at I think looks like 2021 in July is when you did 101. Oh, and then you didn't compete for 5 months at the AO.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking for some reason I saw the 7, and I was thinking it was AO3, which would have been like September-ish or something.
No, I didn't do very. I haven't done many series.
Well, you pulled out of one of them.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
signed
I
up
did
and
sign
pulled
up.
out.
I signed up for one.
It was Albuquerque.
Yeah, whenever Albuquerque was, I think that was
was
22 or 21.
21, September
Oh,
21.
it'd be in summertime.
So I had signed up because we were going out there to coach some people. I guess our team trip that year for everyone that was still like competing at that level, and I had to go anyways. So I was like, oh, I'll just compete and have a fun meet. But my back went into a spasm before that one. Not as bad, but I still I couldn't snatch 55 kilos comfortably when we got there. So I got the doctors to work on me. They helped me a lot, and I opted to withdraw.
So
Was
now
the-
that you're, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Susie.
So now that you're competing at such a high level, making Team USA, are you getting resources from USA Weightlifting to help kind of support your, injuries like with your back and things like that?
So we have what's called the Athlete Development Fund. So you have your, people have heard about, I want to get on stipend, like that kind of thing. But there's also a supplemental fund for athletes specifically to go towards things that are recovery related and such. So what we figured out last year is I need body work done X amount of times leading up to competition, and I need to see the chiropractor this many times. That's what we figured out from my last spasm. That's why we've been able to counter it for as long and stay healthy now. So I'm still seeing, I think I found one new person I'm going to see now, because the person I was seeing for body work, she's had a baby and she's done for now. So I have had to find someone new. So I was a little nervous, but they're in the weightlifting community and someone who understands the body and what our sport does. And that's what's most important to me. So yes, they do help me in that side of things in terms of they will cover those costs to a certain amount. But they will supply you with resources in order to make sure you're able to perform like you need to.
How often are you getting work done?
It depends. So I always go to the chiropractor every other week, just because that's what my body's been the most responsive to. That's not always just for my back. He does my shoulders, elbows, all these kinds of things. And then I'll get a basic massage addressing if my shoulders are tight at the time, whatever issues I need seen about. I will get massage once a month in normal training. If that, I forget. I'm not very good. I'm trying. But leading up to competition, I'm more consistent. So about 8 weeks out, I get massages every bi-weekly. Or the new guy I'm seeing, he does a little bit more different. It's not just a massage. He does fascial stretching and all these different things. He has different therapeutic techniques. And then I have another guy who I see if I go into a spasm. So 6 months ago, before sometime in the fall, I fell walking into our gym. I slipped on pine straw. I'm really clumsy. And I fell right on my hip bone that the side of my scoliosis is on, and everything just went and spasmed up. And I was like, oh no. And that's not a basic massage. That's not fixing that. But I have a guy. So I called him.
I got a guy.
I have a guy. And so it's Move Tech. His name is Camille. He's awesome. So he is my emergent, things are not okay. I go to him, and he's the one who actually teased through my hip flexor issues being the cause of my back. He's the one who kind of set me on the right path. But I don't see him unless there's an issue to be addressed. So I have a team.
And that's so important. You got your support with Cord, you got your team that helps you physically, and then you have your actual team in your club. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what it's like managing a club full-time while training full-time to try to go to the Olympics, right?
Well, so coaching-wise, I do most of the coaching.
I just take broken athletes
Yeah,
and fix them.
She steps in when we have athletes come up with little injuries and things like that. Hey, my knee's really been bothering me. What can I do for it? I'll direct them to her, and then
I fix them up and send them back.
Yeah, she fixes them up, sends them back. But her coaching is very limited.
I'm not a USAW coach. I mainly do athletic training services. That's what I do.
So she kind of does everything from a rehab standpoint. I do everything from let's get stronger than everybody else and snatch and clean jerk everything. So that's kind of our roles with it. And also just because I have a lot of remote lifters as well, so they're always sending videos and I'm keeping them updated and stuff. And during training, like that's not ideal for her, so that's why we if
as
need
like
be,
a coach.
yeah, as like a coach.
Like if I have someone who's injured and they're trying to go overhead again, so my athletes know if you need me, it's fine, but I'm not going to answer when I'm training. And I'll typically if I know they train around the same time as me, I'll ask them to coach him or text him so he can coach them through it.
Yeah.
I'll key him in. He's been around me long enough. I say all the time he should have like an honorary degree with me. He's been there the whole time. But so that was my phone. It's fine. There's no lifters lifting right now. So I'll direct them towards him, and the same thing goes for him because I've been around long enough in the sport. I've got an eye for it. If he is at jiu-jitsu practice, because he does compete in jiu-jitsu, that's his thing. So when he has his training, they know most of the time, okay, coach trains at noon, text Danielle. Because I don't train until slightly after that. What was that? Felt like a bug. Sorry.
That mount you're coming back for you.
We find balance in each other. So like if someone needs something, there's a network that they can reach out to. We also have other lifters who are we have assistant coaches. So we have help. So it's not just the Gunnin show. He's the head coach, obviously, but we have awesome people who've been with us for 5+ years who also have their level ones who are also great coaches. So our lifters will just talk with them amongst each other. And then like in terms of training, I train by myself. I only train with the team on Saturdays just because it works better. As a business owner, people need you all the time. So even if it's our weightlifters are fairly like in tune with that, but they'll be like, oh, hey, how do I do this? Or hey, can I use this? Or are you busy? Or there's questions as a business owner. Someone wants to sign up. Someone needs something. And that's okay. That's what my job is. But my job is also being a professional weightlifter. So that I can separate the two and be the best I can, not great, but the best. Mm-hmm. I separate the two. So I choose to work out before we open. And then that way I can help run the business when it's open for business.
That makes sense.
Boundaries, setting those boundaries.
Boundaries are so important.
Yeah. They are so hard.
Yeah.
So with your training, I know you've been through a lot. You've been through injuries. You've been around and kicking on. Is there any like mindset tricks that not tricks, but like, do you approach sessions with like a specific goal in mind or an intention or anything like that, or like how do you stay focused on this big overarching goal that you're trying to achieve?
So every training session is different in terms of goals. It depends on if we're in a comp cycle or what we're doing, right? So he'll tell me what the focus is that day. Normally I know roughly like what we're working on, using more legs all the time. So I know roughly what he wants out of me, but he'll remind me like, hey, so this is what I want today. Don't push. I want you to focus on being fast. I want you to focus. He'll let me know the intentions of the session. And so then from that, I'll see, okay, well, what cues have been working for me on this particular drill? And so I will write down one or two words of focus. Because I am an overthinker, over-explainer. I talk a lot, obviously. My brain is the same thing that you're hearing. So it helps me.
Cord's just like, yep.
Yes, help me. He's a talker too.
I just tune back in when I hear my name. I'm like, yeah, what do you need?
But yeah, so I'll just write down the 2 words of focus that day, 3 at most. That's kind of, I write down my intentions in terms of like what I'm supposed to be doing. But the last 2 weeks, like we were trying to be very, very technical this training cycle, and it just got to be too much for my brain. And it was almost like I couldn't execute lifts because I was trying to make everything too perfect. And so we simplified it and we said, you know what, just be aggressive. That's it. And we said, forget everything we've been working on, which you know what happens? You do everything you've been
Send it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you send it, but you actually do the stuff you're supposed to be doing. And he's like, that is the best match I've seen this whole cycle. And I'm like, well, we're peaking and I'm figuring it out. Okay.
So the trick was try less.
Yeah. Try less, do less, all of it.
Have you snatched 105 like off the blocks or in training at all? Straps? Secret?
No, I've had it overhead. I haven't made it.
Oh,
I've had 106 overhead. I've had 105 overhead. I've had one. I pulled on 104 back in 2021 in competition.
couldn't quite remember. Yeah.
It was close. It was close.
Yeah, it's been in our hands a couple of times. It's been pretty close. It just hasn't lined up yet, but
Not my time. Not yet.
we're getting there.
That's big though for a
Yeah.
59 though.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's why we're using those legs.
And the 105 overhead was as a 59. Just to be clear,
Yeah.
the 106 I was a 64.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because you basically have the same numbers now as a 59 as a 64. It looks like. I have your numbers up in another tab, so.
they're identical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only difference is like my cleans. They took a hit after my last back spasm. My timing in the bottom and stuff has been off, so I didn't clean 120 for like almost a year. I just recently started cleaning it again.
Yeah.
I think it was right before when I cut weight. This is the first time I had cleaned it in like 6 months or something like that.
That
I
was
think you
mostly
jerked
due to
130,
positional
right?
reasons, not so much strength. Yeah, you jerked.
I jerked 135 and 137.
You hit 140.
No, we work off of 140, but I haven't hit it yet.
Oh,
I
okay,
get scared
140
every
being the
time
goal.
140 is on my back.
140
I
is
threw
crazy.
140 up and it pushed me back down.
Yeah, you did hit 135.
I hit 135 at this body weight.
Yeah.
That's still
140 would be
problem.
huge though.
Yeah.
Yeah. 130
That's
would be huge.
140 would just be like a huge lift. Like people's jaws would be on. Actually, that reminds me. Do you know Mark House?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So Mark was like an announcer. He's the best. But I think it was in like 2021. He came up to me and he's like, do you know who Danielle Gunnin is? Like, and just going on and on and on. And I was like, I'm sorry, Mark, but I've been on the Danielle Gunnin train since 2019.
Yes.
I don't know where you've been, but she's not new to the scene, Mike. Because he was like, oh, she's like fresh, like this is like her first meet. I was like, no, it's not. No, it isn't.
No, she's been here.
Yeah.
She's just figuring it out.
Yeah, just it takes time to develop. It'll be fine.
I always say
Yeah.
that 5-year mark is like the magic mark for lifters. Like 5 years, it's like you finally actually know how to snatch. Like you thought you knew how to snatch, but you don't. You don't.
Mark's awesome. He announced one of my best sessions at a national event, and he was super nice afterwards. And that was the first time I'd met Mark. I'm not sure if he remembers this or not, but it was a really cool meet. It was like the first session of the day in Milwaukee at the AO, and I went 5 for 6, and that's the most lifts I've made ever in a meet.
He was a 2 for 6 for a while.
I was a 2
He
for
was
6
giving
guy
him
for.
hard
It's all you need.
Yeah.
Technically
And,
correct, yeah. That's
And
technically
then we got a
correct.
couple 3 for 6s, then some 4 for 6s started to creep in there, but I've never gone 6 for 6. Like not even when I first started, not ever. So I don't know. Maybe I'll come out of retirement and just go like super easy power snatches one day, just to
Go 6 for 6.
Just to get it.
Just because it would be 6 for 6.
Yeah, you have so much faith in me.
I do.
I think once Danielle makes the Olympic team, that means that you have to come out of retirement to go 6 for 6.
That's it. You gotta get one of them
guess so.
bracelets.
There,
Sounds like a deal to me.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
He'll have to do well, I thought he's done 182 in training. Or he's posted it. I don't
Me?
remember. Yeah.
It's on the USAW website. He said it in a comp.
Yeah, I hit it at a local meet. I went 135, 182 that day, I believe.
It was the only meet I ever missed.
Yeah, it was the only one she ever
This
missed.
one I wasn't at, so he did really good.
Yeah. My clean and
Not
jerks
really
was
good.
super strong that day, so.
He likes the crowd.
totally.
He's very much so like he feeds off that crowd energy. And so that was a great meet. It's in like a small, not a small gym, but it's like very like everyone's there watching and intense and super pumped. So that was like where he thrives.
And that one also had prize money, so that was another thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See, that means you could totally do 125 because it gets the 2 reds and the collars, and you could power that probably, right? And then
I don't know.
do
Power
160.
snatch
right
is
now,
out.
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, let's say.
Yeah, right
He tries
now.
to beat me.
Yeah,
That's
right
it.
now I just show up one day at practice and strap on my lifters, and then I'm like, oh, what did you snatch today, Danielle? And then I'll go snatch 110 and be like, Still got it.
There you go.
Still got
Still
me.
stronger than my wife. We're cool.
That's our training goals right now. It's fine.
There you go. She's making the Olympics, and you're just trying to stay a couple kilos ahead.
Yep.
Honestly, I have to just be strong enough to withstand the beatings that she gives me after she hits a big celebratory lift. Like she
That's
jumps
it.
up, grabs me, and then she'd be like hitting my shoulders, and then she like punch me.
I punch you.
So is that why you started doing jujitsu?
That's what.
Yeah.
No, I slapped a rib out after my first 90 snatch. It was 90 or 93. It was my first time hitting it on a platform.
Oh yeah.
And it was 90. It was my first time. I failed 90 as a third attempt for like 2 years. And we finally just opened with it. And I nailed it. And I walked off and I smack him dead center chest. And I'm like, give me 93. And I sat down and he's like, it was red. It was out. Like his whole rib was out. Like,
Anything you want, babe, you got it.
The chiropractor was like, who's beating you? He's like, my tiny wife. It's fine.
Yeah.
Cord, you got the number for Safe Sport, right?
Yeah, right.
I think that's more of a local police thing.
Yeah. I think the police will get there a lot quicker. So that's...
So, Cord, you probably only train like once a week because you're probably doing BJJ like 3 or 4 times, I'm guessing.
Well, normally, yeah.
Normally it's 5+ days.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll try to train every single day of jiu-jitsu, but recently with her trainings ramping up for Cuba and different stuff, I'll kind of dial back a little bit, going to the gym and be there for her. But I'll lift like 3 days a week. For a little while I was, before I was doing jiu-jitsu competitions. I would lift 3 times a week and then do jiu-jitsu 5 times a week. And
How did that feel?
Not as bad as weightlifting does, if I'm being honest.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, the lifting was like, super minimal. It was like just enough because going into jiu-jitsu, I was already stronger than everybody else coming from a weightlifting background.
Yeah.
Which is like the most backhanded compliment you can get in jiu-jitsu is like when you roll with somebody, they're like, wow, you're super strong. It's like, well, how's my technique? And they're just like,
you're super strong. Yeah.
You can probably squat a lot. I'm just like, okay, cool. But when the compliments started rolling in where people were like, hey, your technique's getting better, I was like, you didn't compliment how strong I was. Thank you. So that's cool.
Because I know my buddy who does BJJ, like he was not really ever into weightlifting, but he did a little bit. And then eventually he just kind of does like a 5-3-1 bodybuilding thing. And he talked about like his legs being too big to do leg locks because that's like his favorite thing. Like he likes to, like, one of the things he can do, he can like break a baseball bat with the leg locks and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's his like
triangles.
Yeah, I had issues with like trying to lock up a triangle on people because my legs were so wide at one point that like just trying to like isolate one arm through.
You found a different technique.
Yeah, I found something else that worked better for me. So
yeah, cool. When he told me that, I was like, okay, man, like whatever. I don't do leg locks, but like that's interesting to hear that again from somebody who's like legit instead of just his like, maybe I don't want to squat, Yeah. Maybe I don't really want to. I just want to do bodybuilding instead of like he was more like doing like a starting strength thing for years until he got into like 5-3-1. And I think now he just doesn't squat much, but I think he presses a lot, like overhead press. That's his thing.
Yeah, doing any kind of grappling sport, it's mostly, especially with jiu-jitsu, like there's a lot of grip just because you're, in the gi and you're playing with lapels and stuff, or you're, just fighting for grips and things like that. So it's super upper body dominant. But switching from weightlifting to jiu-jitsu, that was like a hard battle I had to fight with myself because I was like, am I ready to give this up yet? Am I not? And
it's very hard.
Then I realized after going and coaching athletes at a meet, I'm just like, I get just as much enjoyment watching these guys succeed and doing all that, all their awesome stuff that I'm like, I can go and do this other sport and compete in it. And then that way I can scratch my competitive itch and then also be in the weightlifting world with all my athletes and feel just as happy inside. So
We also got
You can have both.
That was big for him.
that was another thing. Yeah, I got to
Like-
try something new and be bad at something and be expected to be bad at something instead of being the coach and being the guy with all the answers, supposed to be the guy with all the answers and that kind of thing. So instead, I got to go check out for an hour and be the guy that's supposed to be bad at something, and I got to ask more questions. So that was another thing.
It's good mental.
Yeah.
I
Because
think
you probably
everyone should
lifted
do
for about
something to be
5
bad
years,
at.
right?
I think 8 years, seven, 8 years.
I didn't hear. There's 2 things.
Oh, I heard.
Sorry.
Oh, how long have you lifted? Yeah.
Yeah, I started lifting in 2014.
Yeah.
So that was like around 7 years.
Yeah, I see the CrossFit in 2013,
now.
so wasn't quite sure. But obviously, actually it has all your numbers up too, so it's kind of they're old, but like like a
we started
286.
2014 with lifting. It's 2014. You started CrossFit 2013.
Yeah.
Because you did CrossFit for about a year, and then I went and watched him, and I was like, I can beat those girls. And so
So I had to do it.
we went and won that competition together, so I did beat those girls.
Yeah, I saw the I think it was 143 is your total, like 61 kilo snatch with a 59 or 58 body weight, 57 and change, I think is what it says.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
That was
Yeah,
me.
you.
Yeah. I've always.
Yeah,
been
so like not
58.
many people. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the first
I was
week,
weighing
like
in
you snatch
sweatpants.
body weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
I couldn't.
I've always like my first snatch ever was 100 kilo or 100 snatch. 100 pounds. It's very hideous. It's on Instagram if you scroll deep enough.
Oh yeah, if you scroll all the way down my Instagram feed to my one of my very first posts, you can see
We're gonna
her first
we're gonna
snatch
deep
ever.
dive this.
It's so
Yeah.
bad. It's so bad. I have it saved. I can send it to you. You don't have to go that far. But it was really bad. But he signed me up for his competition, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing a competition unless I can snatch 100 pounds. And so I did my first ever snatch session. I snatched 100, and then from there, I mean, within a year, I was snatching 155. So it was just I think I was overhead squatting and jerking 200 before I was squatting it. Like I've had a natural overhead ability for a very long time.
Yeah, you had a weird
Yeah.
gap in your weightlifting game for a while.
Yeah, I could power. I was your typical CrossFitter. I could power things, but I couldn't squat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I power cleaned 195 and jerked it before I ever squatted it.
Right. Squats are overrated.
Yeah, not now.
Who needs them?
Nah.
Not now. That was why it took so long for me to develop that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a bad problem to have like a really high power development, like in an athlete, like and that's like sometimes people would be like, oh, why don't we go recruit more football players to be weightlifters? And it's like, well, they're big, they can make a lot of money, and they're not always like the highest power output athletes. But you're talking about dancers and gymnasts and that kind of stuff, and people that can do like backflips, they usually have a lot of power, even if they can't squat to save their life.
Fun fact.
Hey.
We did backflips on the side of the road on our first date ever.
There you go.
Talk about power production. We were doing that before we were even lifting weight.
Oh, so Cord can do one too then.
Oh yeah, he can do like a full, like a twisty flip. Yeah.
Oh, I can't do a twisty flip. I feel.
I was
I
so-
can't either.
I got to
No,
coach some,
no back full at all.
I got to coach some 6-year-olds this week, and they happen to be gymnasts, and they're in just our general like CrossFit, our general fitness one. And like, are we gonna do any one-handed handsprings? And they're over there doing. I was like, no, look at this.
When you're young,
A little advanced for
flip,
these
that's all you
kids.
do.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
Man.
I'm trying
That's
to think.
funny.
Well, is there anything else y'all want to go over? Anything else y'all want to touch on that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Cuba.
Oh yeah, Cuba. Let's
yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah, we're leaving, 3 days now? 4 days?
Yeah, we leave on Friday
Leave on
morning.
Friday.
So
Can you fly directly there, or do you have to like go through Mexico still?
We're going to Miami. So we fly from Atlanta to Miami, and then Miami down to Cuba.
Nice.
Make sure you pack lots of cash and
Yeah.
you
Oh.
keep all of your stuff on you. You'll be good to go.
That's what we were told.
What we heard.
So, and we were told to take food because it was hard to find for some of the athletes last time. And then some people said it's hard to find food, period. So I think Team USA, the first people just left today to head down there. We don't head because we're middle of the group kind of. So we'll head down on Friday, but there's a few people already down.
Yeah, I think Paris and Mike and all them are down.
Yeah, all the delegation, the people who are
Right.
in charge are down there, and then
You compete on Sunday, right?
He'll leave in a day or two. I
Or no,
compete
you
on
compete on
Monday,
Monday.
and 1 week from
Monday, yeah.
Yes.
That's right. I
Nice.
remember looking at that up.
tentatively Monday at like 7 o'clock Cuba time. Tentatively, they haven't had the verification of final entries, so we'll wait and see, like if I made the cutoff for the A session or what schedule they even come up with. We'll see. All that is to be determined. So.
Yeah,
And
I
the
saw
British
your
Open this
food
week.
post earlier. It was like a whole. I kind of wondered if you like vacuum sealed them or something because you said they were gonna be good for so long.
What my food?
Yeah, because I think you said you
no,
were gonna
I
have
just
to.
buy packaged food. So I literally have like Walmart chicken that I'm taking with me.
Well,
so like
yeah.
The little
it's
like
just-
packages of chicken.
Yes, so like
I
every
travel
country
with
is
those too.
different, but going into Cuba, you can't. Everything has to be in its original packaging. So I can't like freeze chicken and fly it over in a check bag because there's places you can do that. You can like freeze meals, fly them over in a check bag, and they don't care. Cuba cares a lot more than most other countries, is what we're told. So I'm just being extra careful. So I took. I've got little packets of tuna. I've got a whole like gallon bag of just chicken, and then I've got like rice cakes for and Rice Krispie treats and stuff like that as carbs. And I'm taking some rice in like a container. We're gonna see. I don't know if they'll make me throw it away or not. I'm just trying to bring stuff because last time, like in Argentina, like you shouldn't be eating food locally because if you get a stomach bug, if you get it's different food than what you're used to. Your stomach's going to get upset. So they encourage you not to eat locally and just eat the food that is prepared for you. I did not do that in Argentina. I was fine. I ate just beef because I knew their grades of beef were there. It's very high quality. So I opted to eat that because I could not get enough food at the dining hall. Like you could go and there was food available. I'm not saying they didn't feed us. I'm saying it was not enough food, and it was the same food every day for like 10 days. It was soupy eggs in the morning. It was
Tasty.
chicken, beef, or fish, and then potatoes and rice. And that was it for like 10 days for lunch and dinner, every meal. So I actually weighed in at 58.1. I was going back to my room and eating more rice cakes. I would take a pack of chicken like I'd have with me, and I would put it in my eggs to get more protein. And so like, it was just one of those, like, everything was so bland, and I was not getting it. Yeah, I went and bought Tabasco sauce, so that's why you see it in my picture this time because I'm bringing it this time. I'm ready.
He's bringing
bring me the gross food. I'm gonna put hot sauce on it and eat it. It's fine, because I'm already on weight. So woke up 59.3 like as soon as I woke up this morning, and that normally comes down throughout the day. I don't need to lose any more weight. So I packed extra food this time to make sure that I can stay. I'm cutting, but I still eat 4 meals a day. I still eat a lot. Real meals. I'm not just eating a carrot and a piece of chicken.
Thank goodness she's not so hangry
Singular
all the time.
ounce of chicken.
No. I mean, I was literally eating steak and potatoes before this meeting, and I had a Nutella sandwich earlier. So I eat a decent amount, so I tried to pack to account for if I need to eat all of my meals on my own, because we're only there for 4 days. So we fly Friday, we're there Saturday, Sunday. I compete Monday night, tentatively, and then I fly back Tuesday morning. So we're not going to be there hardly at all, and so I'm just packing enough to make sure this man doesn't die, and I'm not weighing too light.
Oh yeah, because he's a big dude.
Yeah,
he's like 90.
He likes food.
Yeah. I was bigger when I was a weightlifter, but no. I'm actually back down in my old weight class after quitting weightlifting.
Yeah.
Are you 85?
Well,
Okay, not that far.
Not that
No.
old.
yeah.
My most recent old. I was a 102 before that.
Oh,
I was a 94 before the switch in weight classes, and that's
I
why
remember
my
using
Instagram,
94. Yeah.
yeah, that's why my Instagram handle is at Gunnin94. I just never changed it, so I've just kind of went up and then circled back around to being in the 94 range.
Nice.
Well, it's also it's like sympathetic weight loss. So when I go into a cut, he cuts weight.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it takes all the good
Solidarity.
stuff in the house, like cheese and sugar and all the stuff that I like to
No
eat,
sweet. I do like fun size Kit Kats to curb my cravings. And this man, I bought him full size this time because last cut he was eating all my Kit Kats, and I was so mad. And I was like, I get one fun size. Like, please stop stealing my fun. And he's eating like 5 of them, and I'm like, let me just get you a normal one. And then this time it was my Reese's. I added Reese's Thins in. I have a secret stash. I started grabbing them and hiding them in places so he can't eat.
Best way to be.
I want to train one of our 4 dogs to be a chocolate sniffing dog, and I want to find the stash.
The stash is gonna eat it today. We're about to leave. I had to finish it.
Nice.
I guess we're at an hour. I don't know how much longer you have to go. It's getting late right there. Fun. You talked about Argentina.
Yeah.
Was the food situation the same in Lima? Because I saw that you went to Lima Grand Prix.
We had good food there. I wasn't cutting because that was when I was 64, and I weighed in at like 63 there, or 62. I didn't track macros or food or anything until 2022. Until last year.
Yeah, actually, Lima's food was really good.
We had really good rice. There's some yellow rice that was delicious.
Yeah.
There's desserts that were they had custards and stuff like that. So the Argentina situation, there was 2 hotels that were connected. They put Team USA in the not as nice hotel. Piro's got the nice one. We did
executive board.
Yes,
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I would expect nothing less. But there was a dining hall in both hotels, and they were connected. The kitchens were the same. So there was only one kitchen open originally, or one dining hall. So you would go over, and everyone would go eat in the nice hotel. And then after that was for the lighter weight classes that were there early. So then 3 or 4 days after the event actually started, they opened up both dining halls, and one ours was in the not as nice hotel, and it opened up an hour after the other one. So before they had it, when we were eating in the nice one, we got our own bottle of water to split at our table. We had eclairs for dessert. We had ice cream that was coated in chocolate. So there was some good food. The first 3 days, I was like, this is great. And then they shifted, and they were like, y'all can't, Team USA can't, y'all don't need to be in here. Y'all need to be in your designated dining
They
hall.
singled me out.
They yelled at him.
They singled me out one day.
Yeah.
And the team doc. It was our biggest guys. Non-lifting guys.
Yeah, one of the guys comes over and he goes, are you staying in the other hotel? And I was like, oh, yes, sir. And he's like, okay, tonight is okay, but tomorrow you need to eat over there. And I'm like, oh,
meanwhile,
okay, I'm sorry.
The lifters, we were all already sitting down. They didn't say anything to us. But and the kitchens were connected. It wasn't like they were making different food, or it was not affecting anything. So we end up eating in the not as nice hotel, and they're serving us leftovers. So literally, they would bring
half-eaten trays of
they
what they were serving
out of this serving trays and brought them over, and we were like, this has been sitting under a heating lamp. Why? If you're gonna open up an hour later, it should be fresh food. Just open up at the same time. What is going on? We were served burnt eggs. It was just, and they were soupy every day. And there was the same ham and salami, very fatty meats, which is also cultural. But at breakfast, it was only salami, ham, cheese, eggs, and then it was all pastries. So as a cutting athlete, I can't have those fatty foods.
Yeah.
And my body would not be happy either because it hasn't had that. So I was eating toast and eggs every day. And that was why I was losing so much weight, because I couldn't keep enough in my body. So it wasn't that we weren't fed. The food was just gross.
You're also at altitude, I think, there too, right?
Cuba's different altitude.
No, Argentina.
Argentina. No.
Oh, okay.
We were
I
at the
think you're
base.
thinking of Colombia.
I'm thinking of that. I didn't know exactly what the elevation for Argentina was.
We were the very, very tip, like very bottom, like almost in Antarctica.
Oh,
So like we
gotcha.
flew into Argentina and then we got on another smaller flight that took us 2 hours further south.
Okay.
It was cool. It was a cool
It
city.
was beautiful.
It is pretty cool.
And you could walk
I liked
everywhere.
it
It
down
was gorgeous. It was very gorgeous.
The only reason I brought this up was to basically have you talk about how Peruvian food was better than everything else in Argentina. Because I'm Peruvian, so just wanted to. That was my secret.
Well,
I liked
We'll say
one of
this.
my meals.
the resort we stayed at in Peru
That
was
the hotel.
yeah,
It's
it was-
not a resort.
or the place we stayed at. The food was really good. We didn't get to go out in the town and go eat, so
We did a couple times. I had
I'm
my
forgetting
shawarma.
a lot of details of this.
Shawarma.
trip.
Oh, you're talking about Peru.
Peru.
Sorry.
Shawarma.
Yeah.
Go.
So,
I'm done.
yeah, Peru, we didn't get to go explore any in the city or anywhere outside of the place we're staying or the venue. Argentina, we got to go, explore a little bit and
We went to the
try
mall.
some of the shops and go. We went to
In
the
Peru.
mall and
Peru, we went to the mall and we got Burger King.
yeah, that's right.
That was our meal.
That's right, we did. Yeah.
I'm dead
Was it?
serious.
Was it?
Well, you
How
got-
did it
you
compare
got
to
Burger
American
King. I
Burger
don't
King?
know what I got.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we were in a venue. The town we were in wasn't like, I don't know if it's normal for Peru. It wasn't very
It wasn't
like
very explorable.
it wasn't like travel friendly, if you will. So, and we also don't speak any other language other than English. So that's been one thing. I'm like, I knew Spanish. I have forgotten it. And I need to re-up on that. Because it would make it a lot easier. Because we tried to order like mocha coffee and I was like, mocha cafe, thinking like that'll work. We got chocolate bars inside coffee. It was delicious.
It was great.
But it was not. It was not hot.
They were probably like, "What are these people talking about?"
I don't know. And he's like, one guy was like, yes. And I was like, okay. And he was like, sit. And we sat and we waited and he brought us chocolate bar coffee and it was great.
I think I actually remember that with mocha, like Peruvian mocha coffee. It's super sweet. I thought they spoke more English there in Lima just because of my family. But
I don't
who
know.
knows?
I don't know where what part we were. There were some people who explored more, like Alyssa Ritchie and like Max Ada. They went and visited different areas. It was our first competition with Team USA, and it's his first time. Like my first senior team is his first time coaching me internationally. So we wanted to watch the competition and get used to how those things work, what it looks like, what it feels like. So we chose to sit in the venue most of the day and watch other lifters and just get a feel for it rather than explore the town. So
Yeah.
that was on us.
So great to support your teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're so excited to see you compete. You're going to kill it. And I'm sure there'll be a live stream, hopefully.
It's IWF posted a 3-day countdown. We're going to post broadcasting or live stream information after verification.
They are. Oh, nice. We didn't hear about that yet. I was looking into it, but
I just
That's
saw
nice.
it on. If you keep reading, it's in like the second part of the IWS post. It's got like a little gator on it, and it says 3 days. So they haven't announced where to watch. They just mentioned that there is a live stream.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Everyone was wondering about that. Like, how can you have a qualifier without a stream?
I get
we'll
asked
try and
all the time, how do we watch? And I'm like, I won't know until the competition starts. And then I will tell you. So.
We'll try and I want to try and comment on. I don't know. Me and Susie and Blair need to talk about it, but I kind of want to try and comment on one because with this podcast platform, we can also like live stream stuff and comment on it. Yeah, so we might try and do that.
I know people would enjoy that to hear it in English because that was the one thing. Like everyone that watched Pan Am's was like, Gunnin. All right, we're watching now.
There we go.
But we had no idea what was happening or how important any of those lists were. So that would be cool if y'all do that. I will definitely share.
Well, now we got to talk about it. Yeah.
Well, we didn't know about the stream until like now.
30 seconds ago, yeah. So let's see what the quality is like.
If y'all do it. If y'all do it, I will definitely help promote it.
Thank you.
Cool.
I'm trying to think. Anything else to cover?
I think that's everything.
Pretty much.
You gonna take any Pan Am attempts in Cuba? Or any big international ones? Secrets?
Y'all know how I compete.
Yeah.
If you watched me at all, you know I'm gonna go for something.
Let's
I'll
go.
just do that. Do you know how I compete? I'm just being the normal Danielle, because it doesn't matter if I'm international, national level. I'm still me.
Put it on the bar. Let's see what happens.
I mean, she's put
Yeah.
124 on the bar before. I saw that.
I haven't. 144?
Well, I see it.
120.
Yeah, I see it.
120.
I see it on your attempts in.
124.
Where was it?
Oh, I've had
That was
124.
the
I was like, I've never put
2021.
40 anything. Yeah.
No, that was
Well,
2021
my PR clean is
Arnold.
126. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've stood up 122 in competition. I just was off on my jerks for a while. After I had all those shoulder injuries, I didn't have my groove for a while. But yeah, so we stood up. I've cleaned up to 126. My best clean and jerk previously is so far is 123. But and I have not attempted that in over a year. So.
Well, let's see what happens.
Also, I hadn't even racked or pulled under 122, and then we put that on at Pan Am's, and it hit my shoulders, and I was sitting there, I was like, oh, okay, I'm stuck.
Oh,
Now
we're
I
here
gotta
now.
stand
What
up.
do we do?
But it was cool. It was on my shoulders, and I was like, well, we hadn't gotten this far in over a year, so that's progress, right? But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Good luck in Cuba, and hopefully we get to comment as you're lifting.
Yeah.
Thank you. That'd be super cool.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, where can people keep up with you on the socials?
Okay, I am at Danielle _Gunnin on Instagram. So it's just my name. If you look Danielle Gunnin, that'll find me. And then he's
At Gunnin94 on Instagram.
or Cord Gunnin, CORD, Cord,
CORD.
not Corey.
And your club?
It's Atlas Weightlifting Club. It's in both of our bios. If you just go there or typing Atlas Weightlifting Club, you're gonna mess something up, especially in weightlifting. There's too many L's and I's.
Makes sense.
But yeah, Atlas Weightlifting. Wait, there we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Well, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anytime.
Nice talking to you, Cord. Danielle.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Especially, I've probably messaged Danielle like a zillion times about gymnastic stuff. I was that guy.
Maybe.
No
He's that guy.
No one's really talked to me about my background. Like we talk about CrossFit.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Yeah.
It doesn't go like that far back, typically.
Definitely
If you guys
gymnastic.
want to talk about golf or jiu-jitsu, like hit me up.
Yeah.
I'm bad at
Talk about
golf
people coming
and bad
from
at
weird
jiu-jitsu.
sports.
Yeah.
All right, well, you guys have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.